Pennsylvania real estate licensing laws. And this unit right here is going to be the purpose of licensing, disciplinary action, and the recovery fund for state-specific, the state of Pennsylvania. So if you go on YouTube, it's really hard to find any state-specific topics to help you. I'm just going to let you know right now because I've looked, couldn't find any. So hopefully this YouTube video will become popular and people that are studying for their Pennsylvania state exam can help. So you have to remember the state exam, not this class. This class is broke down in Pennsylvania in two parts: real estate fundamentals. This unit will be the last part of fundamentals. So if you just get through this unit and pass the test, you will get your transcript for the fundamentals part. Then the next section is going to be real estate practice. Okay. And then if you pass that, you get a transcript. So you're going to need two transcripts to go take your state test for real estate practice and real estate fundamentals. Okay. Now, when you go take the state test, you would think they would give you two tests, real estate fundamentals and real estate practice. It's not how the state works. They're going to give you one test that's going to be the national test that's going to cover just about everything in this book except for Unit 12, which is going to be state specific, and some fair housing that we're going to touch base on in a few of the other chapters. So this stuff here, you're going to need to know for the state portion of the test. So when you go take the test, if you fail one part, you only have to retake the part you failed. So if you go up and you fail the state part and you pass the national, you only have to retest on the state. So that's why it's important for you to know that the state is Unit 12 in this book, Unit 13 in the old book, and fair housing. Question? I'm not sure, but we'll find out through this section. We'll find out through this section.
Tom,
I think you're right.
PCBs was banned in 1979.
Okay, squirrels on it. PCBs were banned in 1979. From good job. From our little, see that little field trip paid off. Okay. All 50 states and the District of Columbia and all Canadian provinces have some type of license and regulation that regulate the activities of real estate licensees. The uniform policy and standards are promoted by the Association of Real Estate License Law Officials. You're going to see that ARELA as we go through here, but they don't spell it out. So when you see ARELA, you're going to know, and I wouldn't even know what that means for your state exam, is ARELA is the Association of Real Estate Licensing Law Officials. It's enacted to protect the public by ensuring competency and professionalism. Okay? The purpose of the licensing laws and the disciplinary actions and the recovery fund. They're established basic requirements for license. They defined activities that require a license. They describe acceptable standards of conduct. And then they enforce the standards through disciplinary actions. Okay? Is that you, Ray? No comment on the ringtone. The purpose of regulations to protect the public from unscrupulous or sloppy practitioners of real estate. Unscrupulous, Lex, or sloppy.
That's like a bad or something.
Unscrupulous is just somebody that's not like up on it. It's not honest and upfront. Conniving, con artist. A con artist would be unscrupulous. They established minimal levels of competency. Current law was enacted in 1980, and it was the Real Estate Licensing and Registration Act. We are going to be going over, this whole section is going to be pretty much based on that act. So you need to know what the real estate, you need to know that what the Real Estate Licensing and Registration Act, RERA, is. It was a statutory law created by state legislation. Statutory laws are created by legislation, right? Common laws are created by what? Policy, common law. If you go to a judge and the judge rules in a certain way, and there's several judges that have ruled that way, that could become common law. Oh, that's my best guess at it.
That was in Unit 10, actually.
It was. In Pennsylvania, the Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission cannot change the act. Only legislation can. So you have to know that the Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act, Registration Act, is a statutory law, and the Real Estate Commission, Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission, cannot change it. It cannot change it. But let's talk about what the Real Estate Commission, the state Pennsylvania Real Estate Commission, can do. They administer the Licensing Act and supervise the activities of the licensees. Okay, so the act was put in place as a law, correct? Statutory law. So government, they voted on it, they come up with it, and then they put the Real Estate Commission in charge of administrating it. Promulgates the rules and regulations. They have some force and effect. They have the same force and effect as law does. The Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act. Enforced through fines and license restrictions. They can deny your license. They can suspend your license. They can revoke your license. They can have civil and criminal actions for serious cases. The State Real Estate Commission functions under the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs within the Department of State. And I had a slide. I need to put that slide in here for future classes. Let me make a note of that. So you have the Department of State first, okay? And then underneath them, you have the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs. And then under them, you have the Real Estate Commission. Okay? The Real Estate Commission is composed of 11 members. The commissioner of the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs is one of the members. The director of the Bureau of Consumer Protection is a member, or he can designate somebody. 3 members representing the public at large. So any one of you guys could be on a real estate commission. Any one of you. Because 3 people out of the 11 are just people from the public at large. 5 brokers engaged in the real estate business for a period of at least 10 years, immediately prior to appointment. So I can be on the Real Estate Commission. They can appoint me because I've been in business and doing real estate for 10 years. Okay. 1 person who shall be licensed as a real estate broker or cemetery broker can be on it. And all are appointed by the governor for a 5-year term. So I would know who's on a real estate commission. You want to take a picture of this, Lex?
Right here.
Oh, she got it right there. Okay.
I have a question.
Yes.
Did you go and take either test? Like, did I just schedule one test?
When you go to take the test, typically you take them both the first time. Could you go take? I don't know that question. I don't know.
Pay the same amount. Like, say you go and
Because that'd be
you
nice
take the
just to
test.
take this one, just so I can just study just this.
Right.
I didn't
yeah.
worry about the other one.
I don't know.
This is what I would do. I wouldn't worry about it. I'd go up and take both tests.
Yeah, I don't.
And then if you
It
don't
would be
make
nice
one,
if I can just study one
If
chapter.
you pass one. and
well,
fail the other-
it's more than one chapter, Lex. It's this chapter plus fair housing. So
Okay, but still.
it's not as big as the state portion. The state test doesn't have as many questions as the, you're right. I don't know if you could just go say you want to take the state,
Yeah, I don't think you can.
you know, I don't know if you can do that.
If you pass one and fail one,
Then you only take
you
one.
only have to take one, but you still have to pay the same $50.
Yeah.
Or whatever.
Yeah, I don't think you can go register and say, I just want to take the state, I don't want to take the national. Now, if you've already passed the national, you can get away with that. I don't know if you can, but find out. You have to contact PSI. Vaughn already is registered at PSI, right, Vaughn? So why don't you, is there a chat with him?
Good luck trying to get a hold of them.
Okay, well, there you go, Lex. Good
You
luck
just go
finding.
online, you create an account, and you schedule your test, and you pay right there.
Okay.
Yeah, I tried for like 6 months to try to get a hold of somebody.
Okay. Well, that's because you finished the classes right before COVID and everything was shut down.
Email,
It's quicker now. 2 weeks, you could be 2 weeks, 2 to 3 weeks, you should be able to be signed up. So let's talk about the real estate commission so we don't get off track here. They have regular scheduled meetings subject to the sunshine laws. Okay, so when they say the sunshine laws, they mean that they have to be promoted and advertised. They can't say, hey, we're going to have a meeting and not tell anybody. They have to throw it out there to the public. They hold formal and informal hearings related to complaints against licensees. They hold public meetings each year in Pittsburgh, Philadelphia, and Harrisburg to solicit suggestions, comments, and objections about the real estate practice. Disciplinary actions and the recovery fund. Okay?
Can you make it bigger on this thing?
Yeah, I'm going to do that right now.
Are you on the commission?
No. So disciplinary actions in the recovery fund. The Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act authorizes the commission to enforce the act. Again, the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs investigates complaints. The commission's authorized to do the following: suspend license, revoke license, levy fines. The nature and severity of the violation will be considered, and the accused party may request a hearing. Okay? So who investigates the complaints? Does the Real Estate Commission? No. Who does? Affairs. Yeah, investigates complaints. I have a handout for that, but you know what? I think I threw it. I don't know if I threw it away or not. Decided not to hand it out. Can you pass this out for me, Andrea? Then when you get that one passed out,
Here, you go.
I may have another one. Okay, so this is an actual, here, I'll take some of them, Andrea. I'm sorry I didn't put clips on those. There's more than two.
There is.
I'll take the top.
Okay. Thanks.
There was only two?
Yes.
Okay, so I was involved in a complaint. And this is why I'm handing this out. Because this is the letter that I got after they made a decision. And if you see what I have highlighted there, that the Bureau of Professional and Occupational Affairs has completed its inquiry into the reference complaint filed against you, and I weighed the agent out. So who investigates it? Yeah, this handout, guys should be dead on it, and know who investigates those complaints. Broker's liability. The employee broker is liable for his licensee's actions if the broker has actual knowledge or the broker permitted the course of dealing that violates law. Prima facie evidence of wrongdoing. If the broker permitted it. If I knew that there was something going on and I didn't address it, I'm liable for the agent's actions. Andrea and myself work very hard. We sent you that meeting that we did Monday. We do one of those meetings at least 2 or 3 times a month, sometimes 4 times a month. And I'm always pounding home at the meetings things that are violation. As a matter of fact, this past meeting, we talked about that real estate agents only can fill in the blanks. They're not permitted to draw contracts up. The only person that could draw a contract up would be a broker or an attorney. We talked about that real estate contracts have to be in writing, right, Andrea? Yep. I'm reinforcing to my agents. Contracts got to be in writing, no verbal agreements. So I'm always reinforcing to my agents the law to keep everybody out of trouble. May suspend, revoke, or fine the broker if the broker fails to supervise, subject to lesser actions. So, we save all of our meetings in case the real estate committee, in case one of my agents, Jeff, does something and violates, and he says to the real estate commission, he tries to throw me under the bus, say, I don't know, Tom never told me we shouldn't do that. We save all the meetings and all the agendas, and we can go back and say, oh, we had a meeting on that date. The broker may be charged during an investigation or an inspection, may pay a fine. So it's serious business, guys. This ain't playtime. Okay? Prohibited acts, things you can't do as a real estate agent. Okay? One is you can't misrepresent. You can't have any misrepresentation. Pretty easy, huh, Christine? Okay? 2 is you can't make a false promise. It's a violation of the act. What would an example of a false promise be, Lex?
I don't know.
I guarantee you I'll sell your house for $200,000 and you can't get it sold. I guarantee you that this house will go up in value next year and the market adjusts, and it doesn't. Okay? Misleading advertising. Escrow issues. Remember we talked about the escrow account? The money has to be deposited in the escrow account within 1 business day. You can't commingle those monies with your monies. Record keeping issues. We have to keep records for 3 years. We used to do everything by paper file. Down in the basement, I had I used to keep them 5 years, just in case. Had all these files. Now we went to electronic, where we don't keep paper files anymore. Everything's electronic. So the agents can have the whole file on their phone or on their computer. And I don't have to have all that space in my basement taken up with these files.
Some people still do both.
Some people still do. I still do both. I still keep a paper file because I'm old school. And at the end of the transaction, I turn the paper file into, and I have the electronic file, and then they take the paper file and we'll file it. So if somebody turns in a paper file, we'll keep it for 3 years. Undisclosed dual agency. Okay. Undisclosed dual agency, where you're representing both parties in a transaction and you haven't disclosed that to the seller or the buyer. Putting a sign up without permission. Can't just go put a sign up without permission. Okay, it's a violation of the Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act. Failure to provide copies at execution. Boy, that's a big one. Can we make a slide for the next meeting? See, you guys give me a lot of good meeting material.
All that stuff?
No, just the one we're on. Failure to provide copies at execution. All the rest of the stuff, we're pretty much on. But I've seen people not give copies at execution when they're signing it. So the law states that anything anybody signs, you have to give them a copy at the time they signed it. Okay? So nowadays, what I do is, and what I teach my agents, if you're at the house with somebody and you're going through a sales agreement and a buyer or seller's cost sheet, and a consumer notice, Azaria, get your phone out. As they sign everything, take a picture of everything. I even have a program called DocuScan where I could take a picture and it merges them all into one document and then just email it to the guy right there. There you go. You got your copy. I'm going to keep the originals. I just emailed you a copy of everything you signed. I mean, can't we do that? Isn't that very easy? Some people don't. And if you get caught not inducing a party to break a contract. Oh my God. I hate teaching these classes because all the time I get somebody that calls me up and says, I'm in an agreement. What do I have to do to break it? You know what I tell them? It's against the law for me to even talk to you about it. Go talk to an attorney. It's against the law. So you can't go to somebody and say, Ellen, you got that property listed with Lauren. She's not a good agent. She's charging you 7%. List it with me. Break that contract. Call the broker and complain. They'll let you out of the agreement. I'll list it for 5%. And that happens every day. Not from agents from my office, but I've seen it happen with the competition against me. $750,000 sale. I had this property listed for $750,000, and an agent went to my seller and says, "List it with, break the listing with Tom. List with me. I'll charge you 5. He's charging you 10." Okay, it's against the law.
Did you report them?
No, I ain't got time. I ain't a tattletale. Tony Soprano would say, "I'm not a rat. I ain't got enough time to turn somebody in. I got my own business I'm too worried about." But don't think there's other squealers out there. There's a lot of rats out there that'll turn somebody else in. But I ain't got time to play that game. Accepting compensation from anybody other but the broker. You know what? Put this whole slide up for our meeting. That'll be easy breezy. It's slide 11. Just put the whole slide up. Because I think that happens a lot. So you're not allowed to take compensation from anybody other than the broker. Period. And we're probably going to tweak that. I just really want accepting compensation from anybody but the broker and failure to provide copies.
Why not just throw it all in?
Okay, throw it all in. Paying commissions to anyone but an employee. So you got to do the next one too then, Andrea. Next slide goes after.
Oh, okay.
Conviction of a money crime. So if you have a real estate license and you're convicted of a money crime, that's a violation of the act. Violating any regulation of the commission. Here's one too that's done a lot. Failure to provide accurate disclosure. So the case that we just lost for $15K, we disclosed to the buyer a problem with the property, but failed to put it in writing. Okay, so failure to provide accurate disclosure means it has to be in writing. Okay, failure to supervise, purchaser by deceptive conduct, undisclosed fees, unlicensed activities, and violating the PA Human Relations Act. These are all to it. The act also talks about how you need to post a suspension notice. So if the broker gets suspended, I must return my license commission. Okay, I must promptly post a commission-approved notice of suspension at public entrances of my building and any branch offices. Okay, you shut down. Failure to post is grounds for further action. Okay.
Bonnie said where it says like what section it is, it'll ask you that in the test.
What?
Where it says what section it, like it's in, it'll ask you that on the test, like what section was.
I wouldn't worry about that too much.
No, I'm
But it was
serious.
on the test.
Yeah.
Oh, it was on the test. All the answers on the test don't count. They throw sample test questions on there. If you're going to try to remember which section all these are, you ain't never going to make it. Don't worry about it. Don't worry about it. You don't need to know which section they are. Which section are they, Bonnie?
I don't know. I don't remember. I just
Oh.
remember questions being like section 702 is blah, 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 blah. And then it would give you
Don't worry about it.
like the options.
Believe me, you got a lot to learn here. If you think you're going to go into the Real Estate Commission
That's what I
rules and
thought.
regulations, Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act, and learn all the sections they are, you'll be lost.
I don't think you have to go into that book. It's
Yeah.
just whatever these point out.
Yeah. It's okay. I'm telling you, don't worry about the sections. You'll be okay. And if you miss that one, shoot me a dirty text. That's all.
I wish they told you which ones you missed.
How do you get relicensed after? Well, all the test questions aren't. Number one is they throw test questions on there, or sample test questions, that if you get right or you get wrong, you don't get credit with it. Plus, just because one question was on the test, for somebody to learn all the different sections of this act. Do you know? Did anybody look in the book and look at the act? How many pages it is? There's a lot.
Yeah.
You're focusing on the wrong thing. My job is to get you to pass the test. Sometimes you have to lose a question and not worry about the pass, right? I want you to focus on the stuff you need to learn. Like, how much is the mortgage balance after the third payment if it's a $100,000 loan for 5% for 30 years? That's the kind of stuff we have to do to learn. So how do you get a license back after you lost it? Revocation lasts 5 years. After the 5th year period, the former licensee may petition the commission for relicensing. The former licensee must comply with current licensing requirements before the new license is given, meaning they have to take the continuing ed and conform to any licensing that other requirements that they require. Civil penalties, in addition to other remedies or other penalties, the commission may level fines up to $1,000 against licensees, and there could still be civil penalties that are done in court by the person that was damaged. Okay? Reporting crimes and disciplinary action. This is an important one. Licensees must notify the commission within 30 days of a conviction of a felony or misdemeanor. If you fail to do that, they can pull your license. So if you get a DUI, it's a misdemeanor, right? And you have a real estate license, you got 30 days. You know what? That's another good one. Slide 15, Andrea. Maybe we need to talk about that one. Or if you have a felony, you have to report it to the real estate commission. If another licensing authority takes action against the licensee, the commission must be notified within 30 days. So I had my appraiser's license. I lost it. The real estate commission took it off me. I had to let the real estate commission know that the appraisers, I lost my appraiser's license. Or if you have a mortgage banker's license, you have to let them know if that happens. Okay, so I had my appraiser's license, I lost it. Now I do have the right to go to court, and I should have, but I didn't. Because at the time I held my insurance license, my appraiser's license, my mortgage license, my broker's license. I had all these licenses and the continuing ed and I wasn't making any money on some of this stuff. So I said, let the appraiser's license go. I ain't worried about it. I paid a fine and let it go. I should have fought it because I could have won the case. But at the time, it was just, it was just easier for me to say, forget it.
If somebody gets a felony charge, do they lose their license?
It's up to the state.
If you have a felony, can you even get a license?
It's up to the state.
It's an individual thing.
Yep, they'll have a hearing. They'll look at you. They'll figure it out. Okay, the Real Estate Recovery Fund. It's established to collect judgment awards in civil court. Must be from suits against licensee for fraud, deceit, or misrepresentation in a transaction. Not for campground license issued. The aggrieving party must deplete all means of collecting the money. So if Ray commits fraud against somebody and they sue him and they win the case and he doesn't have money to pay, that's where this fund comes into play. Okay? That's where this fund comes into play. The aggrieved person is required to show that they're not a spouse or a debtor. So I can't be your spouse, or you can't be the mortgage, and I'm the mortgagee, or a personal representative of the spouse. Can't be that. The final judgment was awarded. All reasonable remedies have been exhausted to collect the monies. So I went to court. I did everything I could do to collect the money, and I still couldn't get it from you. And the application is no more than 1 year after termination of the proceedings, including appeals. So it has to be within a year at the conclusion if I want to file for this money from the Real Estate Recovery Fund. Liability shall not exceed 20 grand for any one claim. You need to know this, Vaughn. Okay. And not to exceed 100,000 per licensee. So no more than 20 per claim, no more than 100 per licensee. You will definitely see that on a test. If 100,000 doesn't satisfy the claim, it will be distributed in proration to the claims. The fund will reimburse unfulfilled claimants plus 6% when the fund is available. So if the fund's depleted, there's not enough money, they'll pay out what they can, and then they'll pay you 6% interest when they get the money. Monies for the fund are collected from you guys, the licensee, once you get licensed. It was established in 1980. You may want to know what else was established in 1980. Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act, established in 1980. So you may want to know when the act, because the act is a pretty big thing. So I'm going to say, Vaughn, don't worry about every little clause in the act what the number is, but know that the act was established in 1980. How are we going to remember that the Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act was established in 1980? Anybody here born in 1980? The 80s were a pretty good time. Big collars, big hair, right?
Wait, this might be a stupid question.
Go ahead.
What was established in 1980? What are we even talking about?
We're talking about what we're talking about here. Everything we're talking about is the Real Estate Licensing and Recovery Act.
Alright. The RELRA.
Yeah.
That last piece.
So the fund was established in 1980. That's when the act was established. And licensees pay $10 at license renewal. So how they get money for this recovery fund is every time you get your license renewed, and you get your license renewed on an even year, and you pay $10. So all the licensees, every renewal pay $10. That money goes into the fund, and there you go. If the fund is less than $300,000, the commission may assess additional fees, not to exceed $10 to bring the balance to $500. So if for some reason the fund gets down, they may be able to do a special assessment, no more than $10 to bring the fund back up. Fees paid into the state treasury are credited to the real estate recovery fund. So they pay it to the treasury, then it's credited to the fund. When a claim is paid to an injured party, the following occurs. The license of the person involved is automatically suspended. Okay, on the date of payment. No license shall be granted reinstatement until repayment in full plus 10% interest. So if your claim against you is for 20 grand, because it's 20 grand per incident, right? So one person can't get 100, but if 5 people had a claim and each one was 20, that would cap out your 100,000, right? So we have to know those numbers, 20,000 per claim, 100,000 total. So if 100,000 was paid out, you can't get your license back until you pay the 100,000 plus 10% interest a year on it. So what's 10% interest on 100,000? How much? 1,000? 10,000. 10,000. Okay, let's swap the video right here, Andrew, if we can. Let's take a 5-minute break, guys. Just stretch. If you need to go out and smoke a cigarette.